Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series on the Sega Saturn. And if you can't tell by now, we're taking a look at Saturn Bomberman this week. And I will say, not only do I absolutely love the Bomberman franchise, this is my favorite game in the series. And I have my wife to thank for that because she grew up playing Bomberman on the Super Nintendo, and I didn't really have much experience with the series up till about like 12 years ago when she told me we had to play it. And I did, and we loved it, and now I am a huge fan of Bomberman. And this is 100%, in my opinion, of course, the best Bomberman game in the entire franchise. And interestingly enough, it started life as a completely different game, High 10 Bomberman, which was an exhibition hardware and software demo from NEC and Hudson Soft when they were showing off high-definition televisions and the hardware that would inevitably become the PCFX. But it never actually released for those systems. Instead, they kind of pivoted and gave us Saturn Bomberman. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's Bomberman. If you've ever played a Bomberman game before, I really don't need to tell you much about what's going on here. And if you've never played a Bomberman game before, my question would be, why not? Because they're absolutely incredible. I absolutely love the art style in this game. Everything's colorful, everything's vibrant. All the different stages have these amazing transitions. You go through that little amusement park tea kettle ride there, and you move on to the next stage, which is a personal favorite because there's corgis riding a Ferris wheel, and I have my 12-year-old corgi sitting next to me quietly, hopefully for the remainder of this recording session. But this game is incredible to play on your own. It's great to play with friends, and the multiplayer mode with the right multi-taps, you can get 10 people playing at once, and it's absolutely insane, frantic action. And it's got a ton of good power-ups. You're going to see we get one of our dino buddies here, and each colored dino buddy is going to give you a different power-up, and they also give you an additional hit, because if you do get hit by an enemy or your own bomb, you're going to be able to absorb that hit. Your dino buddy is going to go away, and you're going to have one more hit left. Although, kind of like losing Yoshi in Super Mario World, I hate losing the dino buddies if I can avoid it. But this game is long. It takes a long time to beat. You're not going to beat this in one sitting unless you really put time into it. And I think for a Bomberman game, it's got a lot of longevity, a lot of style, and each different world changes completely. They are a bit stingy with the power-ups. You'll see here that I'm trying to find more bombs and more powerful bombs. And I would say that compared to some other Bomberman games, it's definitely a little bit lighter on those power-ups. And if you've ever played Bomberman before, you know powering up your bombs, powering up your bomb quantities is absolutely essential. It's kind of the same idea as a shmup game where you need to power your ship up to be competitive. And if you lose your power-ups in the wrong spot, you're basically screwed. But now that we've transitioned inside, everything feels completely different. We're going to be blowing up barrels, and there's so much style and a little flair in this game. It just looks great. You see those moths gravitating around that little lamppost in the middle, and the little, sprite-based reflection on the background there. Each, animation, each frame, each detail is highly considered in this game, down to the enemies, how they animate, and their diversity. They definitely put in an insane amount of effort into making this game, and it shows. Now, if you don't have this for Saturn yet, I can't recommend enough that you pick it up, and I can't suggest enough that you buy the Japanese version. Because like a lot of the good Saturn games, a US copy of this game is going for hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. I think it's worth it, but I collect Japanese games, so it doesn't really matter to me. I think I paid $15 for this maybe 7-8 years ago. It's definitely gone up from there, but it's not going to set you back too much. And the game's basically completely in English, and it's a Bomberman game. How much story are you really going to miss if you can't read the language? You're going to be able to play the game completely. So if you do want to pick the game up, 100%, just grab it as a Japanese copy. Definitely worth it. Just be careful because there's 3 Bomberman games on the Saturn. There's Saturn Bomberman, there's Saturn Bomberman Fight, and there's Bomberman Wars. Saturn Bomberman and Saturn Bomberman Fight have very similar covers, and while Fight is another fun, isometric 3D Bomberman game, it is nowhere near as good as this one, so when you are shopping, make sure 100% you're buying the right thing, because I could see potentially somebody getting confused and picking up the wrong copy. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because Saturn Bomberman Fight's still fun, but nowhere near the quality of this game. And now that we've moved on, we're on this pirate ship. You get these dinosaurs here, or alligators, that have these pirate hats and patches on, and you have what looks to be a hammerhead shark spinning 2 different cutlass blades. And I just love that about this game. There's so much detail, so much consideration put into everything. It feels like a living, breathing, albeit animated, cartoony world, but you're definitely going to enjoy everything that's going on. And when you move to the next world, everything's going to change again. But they even give you these little bits of fun mini game. You have these cannons here, and if you time them up correctly and light the fuses with your bombs, you're going to be able to destroy those enemies in the background and just get a little bit higher of a score. And your score really doesn't matter much at all, but there's just these nice little touches here. You can see both that squid and whatever this red guy is are going to get hit. At least I think I hit the red guy. I can't remember. Looks like I didn't. But there's just everything going on in this stage. There's always something outside of the main game to do. And I did unfortunately lose my Dino Buddy there because those cutlass blades, as they spin, they kind of feel a little bit like the hitbox is cheap to me. But I can't complain too much because the game is honest. What I'm going to let you do is just watch a little bit of the game without me talking, because also this game has an absolutely outstanding soundtrack, one of the best Bomberman soundtracks I've ever heard. But I'll be back in just a second to talk a little bit more about Saturn Bomberman, but enjoy this stage. Now we are moving on to the boss. And I do love all the boss battles in this game. Each one is unique, and the arena is really fun to play in, and some of the sprites for the bosses are absolutely huge. And that's what the Saturn was great at. It was set up to be a 2D system before it incorporated 3D as well, so the 2D games on the platform look just incredible. I can't stress enough how much I love that visual style and how good everything looks in 2D on the Saturn. I even like you get this little roller coaster ride. They definitely take each level's theme and incorporate it in ways. There was no real reason to have a roller coaster ride to the end boss of the stage. They could have just had a screen transition and you showed up, but they definitely went the extra mile all the way across this game to make it really lively and colorful and feel like a living, breathing Bomberman world. And as you'll see here, the first stage is the top of the castle. I don't understand it, but it's just how the game works. It kind of looks like a transforming robot, like a transformer in the Bomberman world. And since we are so powered up, we're not going to have much trouble with the boss. But I will say, and in the end of my capture, I lose my power-ups. If you lose your power-ups in any boss stage, it is almost impossible to beat. It's basically easier just to restore a save file or to start fresh. And that's pretty much every Bomberman game. You don't want to lose your power-ups because it can just absolutely sap your will to move forward. And I do wish that there was at least one continue where you were able to continue without losing the power-ups, because it can definitely really stress you out. But you'll see here that that castle transformer is beaten and we are able to move on to the next stage. And that's the great thing about Saturn Bomberman is I played maybe for like 15 minutes here. If you wanted to just save and come back to it, you totally can, or you can keep playing. And it does have longevity, and it does have that kind of meat and potatoes gameplay that you're kind of looking for. And now that we've moved on to the next area in the game, we went from like a carnival theme to a Japanese bamboo walled garden, and we have these pink, they kind of look like hippos, but they're also looking a little bit like worms or slugs. Who knows what they are, and you've got chickens that are running around in half their shell. And the game definitely has a good sense of humor. And you'll see there when I hit that little bamboo shoot, I was able to bounce all the way over here. And that actually almost ended up with a death, but I was lucky and able to get around that corner there. And that's just the fun part about the game, is that as you move forward, more mechanics get introduced, more gameplay styles are there, and you really have a lot more active management in the entire playfield. Because Bomberman isn't just a game about blowing up your enemies and making it to the exit. At least for me, it's also a game about not blowing yourself up, because when you do have 5 or 6 bombs at your disposal and you drop one too many and trap yourself, you're basically killing your own character. And that's part of the challenge and fun of a Bomberman game, is not just managing all the enemies and all the different things you need to destroy, but also managing yourself and making sure you're not going to explode yourself because 1 or 2 misplaced bombs and your character is dead. But the game gives you enough lives, and it gives you the ability to be able to collect more lives, so it's not too stingy in that respect. You'll just see there that beetle was able to throw the bombs, and some enemies are able to manipulate your bombs and try to protect themselves, and you can think you're in a safe space, but you end up actually getting pushed into a death. It never feels cheap, it just feels like you didn't think enough into the future to protect yourself, and that's why I can't stress enough, Saturn Bomberman, absolutely amazing game. Pick it up, play it, you will not regret it if you enjoy Bomberman. But short of that, that was Saturn Bomberman. Thanks so much for watching. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe. It takes us a lot of time to make these episodes. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode in the mainline series, and Friday and Sunday as well. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.